Cartoons have a way of reaching out to us and holding our attention that other forms of media just can't quite seem to achieve. From their bright colors to their exaggerated yet still somehow believable movement styles, cartoon characters have captured our imaginations for over a century. While many of them have come and gone with the rising and falling tides of popular culture, some have survived and become not just characters we see in movies and on TV, but solidified cultural icons that, in many ways, represent an entire generation or cultural identity. And arguably, there's no cartoon character more famous, more influential, more iconic than Walt Disney's Mickey Mouse. The design of Mickey Mouse is both simple and highly effective. His head is just 3 circles, and his body consists of what animators call rubber hoses. It's this simple design that makes him so versatile and recognizable. The design of Mickey and other early Disney characters helped influence animation around the world. Artists like Osamu Tezuka, the father of Japanese manga and anime, cite Disney as their main inspiration for their work. Osamu's early work, like Astro Boy, take clear influences from early Disney cartoons and character design philosophies. You see, one of Mickey Mouse's biggest strengths as a character is the fact that he doesn't really have any particular distinguishing features aside from his ears. This allows him to theoretically and practically be in any situation. He can embody any character in any place at any time. In the early days, Mickey's character, his personality, was actually quite different than it is today. He wasn't always this squeaky clean, friendship is forever face that we see now. Watching his old animated shorts, you see that actually, Mickey was kind of a jerk. Instead of him trying to help people or save someone from danger, it was everyone else who was trying to stop him from stealing food or riling up animals or getting into any number of troubles. He was more of an anti-hero, sort of the original Bugs Bunny, who was sly and mischievous and caused trouble mainly just for the fun of it. Mickey Mouse was very much a product of his time. Many cartoon characters of the era, like Felix the Cat for example, were aimed at children in the 1920s and 30s. Characters who disrespected authority, got into trouble with parents, teachers, police, causing mayhem for the sake of a joke or a prank. But being a product of the 1920s, these influences go both ways, with some people claiming that many of his characteristics, including white gloves, exaggerated mouth and facial expressions, the way he gesticulates, allegedly evolving from blackface characters like what we saw in The Jazz Singer, released only a year before Mickey's first well-known major animated short, Steamboat Willie. Mickey Mouse is commonly attributed to Walt Disney as his creator, which is true to a point, but the real life, style, and character of Mickey was actually designed by Ub Iwerks, Walt Disney's longtime friend and partner. After bouncing around several animation houses, Walt and Iwerks moved out to California in 1923, and in 1927, after striking an animation deal with Universal, together they created Oswald the Lucky Rabbit. Oswald wouldn't just be the precursor to Mickey Mouse in design, but also in philosophy. Disney wanted more money to make Oswald cartoons after the character's big success, but Universal owned the rights to the character and wanted to reduce Disney and Iwerks' salaries. This experience would set in motion the philosophy that the entire Disney Corporation runs on even to this day. You see, after losing Oswald to Universal, Disney swore he would never work on another piece of animation unless he fully owned all the rights. And after the nearly 100 years since then, the Walt Disney Company has aggressively protected their copyrights and intellectual properties. In fact, it might not be that big of an exaggeration to say that most, if not all, of the current United States copyright laws can be attributed, at least in some way, to Disney. Often called the Mickey Mouse Protection Act, Disney has worked and lobbied for stricter copyright laws, longer-lasting terms, and harsher punishments, all in the name of Mickey Mouse. And I mean, to be fair, Mickey Mouse is inarguably the most well-known animated quantity of all time. If this character were to go into the public domain, meaning anyone and everyone could do whatever they want with it, it would no doubt devalue the character and, by extension, the entire Walt Disney Company. The irony, or I guess you could say the poetry, of the situation is that aside from Disney's original characters like Mickey, Donald, Goofy, and so on, they're perhaps best well known for their fairy tale-inspired animated movies. But these movies, or rather the stories that they're based on, are all public domain. Snow White, Sleeping Beauty, Beauty and the Beast, Aladdin, all of these come from books and stories several hundreds of years old. For a company that cares so much about protecting their own copyrights, they sure seem to be keen on profiting from free public domain properties. In the end, from being a cultural icon to a copyright crusader, Mickey Mouse has worn many hats and means many different things to many different people. And that, perhaps, is what solidified him as an integral part of the modern world. A happy, family-friendly cartoon character, a crusader for the rights of creators over their creations, a symbol of corporate greed and overbearance. However you see it, no one can deny the power to be had with just 3 circles and a smile. The story of Walt Disney and Mickey Mouse is something that I think is really interesting. Everybody knows that Mickey Mouse is kind of like the birth of sort of American animation and animation in general, because, you know, Walt Disney had a lot of influence on people and sort of animation just throughout all of history. But I think it's really interesting just how it came to be and kind of how Mickey Mouse as a character just means so many things to so many different people, and just in culture in general, because of course it's, you know, the birth of animation. It's one of the first like real characters that really latched on to people, and like how much power should creators have over their creations versus, you know, regular people, and where does fair use fit in, how long should it, like there's so many aspects to it that I think it's really interesting, and not a whole lot of people really dig into it. In fact, when I was making this video, I didn't even realize the whole blackface part, where there's actually a lot of people who are critical of Mickey Mouse and critical of, I mean, we all know that old Disney had some pretty, you know, not so great things going on. They even had an entire movie, The Song of the South, which Splash Mountain, the ride, is based on. And the Song of the South is like so racist that they actually had to pull it, and they never released it, you know, for the last, like, I don't know how many years, 20, 30 years or whatever. They just pretend like it didn't even happen, even though they still had the Splash Mountain ride, which is interesting. But the story of Walt Disney and the story of Mickey Mouse is very tumultuous, and it's very interesting just how things happened the way they did and why they did, and how what happened with Walt Disney and Mickey Mouse have completely influenced Disney today. But one thing you might not realize is that Walt Disney is indirectly but very much responsible for not only the sort of birth and growth of animation in America and in the world, sort of, but really he is very responsible for Japanese anime, and why Japanese anime looks and is the way it is today can be traced directly back to Walt Disney, and that is next week's video. So don't forget to subscribe and hit the notification bell so you don't miss it. As you all know, YouTube's not really throwing out videos to people so much anymore. Or follow me on Twitter, where I announce videos and stuff that's going on with the channel, or just with myself in general. So thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you all next week with part 2 of this little series. So have a good one.